business that really focuses on printed outcomes. Execution and delivery is everything. I'm very familiar with when execution and delivery actually matter, and they have consequences if they're not delivered properly.
Now, Go Inspire started as a direct mailer. When was the decision made to move into more transactional?
Before the acquisition, it's COVID really. One thing we did see is that the marketing budgets were pulled right back, but our transactional volume stayed pretty steady. So changing our blend to a bit more transactional was quite deliberate. It's not about being first for us. It's about doing it with intention and purpose. Trust is won and lost through delivery, right? And if you're gonna trust AI to do all of your delivery and engagement with customers, it has to be 100% right. We need to make sure we don't lose that human touch in the marketing that we're doing today. How we go to market is really understand the customer. Delivery is where you build trust, and we've always been a good business at that, whether it's print or we do what we say. That trust is gained. It's not about being first with AI. I want us to do it in a really intentional way. I don't just want to run blindly into there because I feel like that's the right direction to go. Yeah. It's with purpose, with intent. If we're going to build something, it needs to be scalable. I don't want to rush that. I want to do it in a way that's measured, deliberate, and generally takes the business forward for many years to come, not a short-term gain.
Thanks for listening to Above the Tree Line from Treeline Press. This podcast reaches an audience focused on how customer communications reveal the larger story of digital transformation around the world. We look at how AI, customer experience, and capital are reshaping how organizations deliver information, service, and trust. Sponsorships are available for podcasts like this. If your company has a story to tell in this changing market, visit treelinepress.com to learn more.
Today, I am with Danny Cook, the managing director of Go Inspire Group, which is a Xerox company. We're going to spend some time talking about that. Danny, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for coming over and thanks for seeing me.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations. You know, it's been all of a month.
Yeah. That's week 6, I think I'm in.
Yeah, and I was saying you're a bit of a rock star these days. Everybody wants to talk to Danny.
I've tried it a couple of times now. It's about you. I haven't quite got used to that yet, but getting there. It's definitely getting easier.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the tour, and we just walked through the facility here in Leicester, and it was quite impressive. I've seen things here that I have not seen before, and clearly you are leveraging data to the extent that you can to really drive value in the print and the mail process. And we're going to come back to that a little bit, but why don't we start here? Why don't we talk a little bit about your background? Yeah. You come out of an engineering background, a lot of heavy print manufacturing. Now you're running one of the most notable print service providers in the UK and perhaps in broader Europe. Yeah. So how'd you get here? Yeah. What's been your path?
It's been an interesting journey, if I'm totally honest with you. This is, so like you say, engineering and delivery background mainly. But what I would say is there's quite a lot of links I see between engineering and customer communications, oddly, is around the delivery. Execution and delivery is everything. And I'm very familiar with when execution and delivery actually matter, and they have consequences if they're not delivered properly. So whether it's omnichannel communications, getting there for patients on time, or whether it's an engineering that needs to be safe and sound and delivered, but also changing ideas into outcomes. That's very much an engineering thing in terms of everybody's got loads of great ideas. Yeah. Actually taking it and making it work is something that drives me quite hard. So yeah, there's a lot, if you think of the customer communication space in terms of strategy, turning strategy into something meaningful and something that is actually tangible, measurable is something that excites me and sort of drives me through. So yeah, that's but yes, we've been quite focused on delivering in this. It's not new. I'm not new into the business. So right. I've been with the business about 7 years now.
Right. So before the acquisition?
Yes. So it's quite interesting. 3 years pre-acquisition and now 4 years post-acquisition. So yeah, it's the business, what we've seen with the business and the change in the business has been quite significant, but all really positive. So in different stages, needing different things, whether we've evolved the strategy, brought the group together, and now pushing on under and growing under Xerox has been really, really interesting.
So Danny, I'm curious, Xerox acquired Go Inspire in 2022, 4 years ago, effectively. Yeah. Why did they choose Go Inspire here in the UK versus some other service provider, perhaps in the US?
Yeah, and I think it's more direction than location. I'd say in terms of where the market's going and what they're seeing, particularly with their evolving markets in digital services. I think when you look at what Go Inspire has been doing and the journey that it's been on, yes, we're very proud to be a print service provider, but the direction that Go Inspire that's been on in evolving its strategy over time into more strategy, data, and creative is really, really interesting. And I think there's quite a lot in that space in terms of outbound communications. And if you think the coming together of marketing communications and business communications, I think we've spoken about a few times around how that's converging together and how Go Inspire has gone about its journey to make sure it's what we do today is really, really relevant in that space. So it's not just about more output. We're really clear on that. It's not just more printed output. It is how do we understand what we're trying to deliver? Now, whether that's more acquiring more customers or getting notifications out to people, it's engaging that customer in the right message at the right time and the right medium is really, really important to us. So how Go Inspire has gone about its business over the last few years, and it's many years really, to actually be able to service its clients in that space, I think is really where Xerox can see the opportunity.
Right.
So GI has been always a well-regarded business in by its clients, long-term tenured clients, and it's continued to do that under the Xerox banner.
Now, Go Inspire started as a direct mailer. And when was the decision made to move into more transactional, to bring more of that transactional volume into the facility? Was that before the acquisition or was that after, or how did that?
Before the acquisition.
It was.
So yeah, it was COVID really. I'll say it was a real drive. I think everybody who lived through COVID and managed their business, it really sort of was a challenge as we all know. And one thing we did see is that the marketing budgets were pulled right back because people weren't going into stores or things like that. But our transactional volume stayed pretty steady. So changing our blend into more, a bit more transactional was quite deliberate prior to the acquisition, and we grew quite heavy. We had the capability. That was the key thing. We had the capability, and we had the platforms, whether that's manufacturing platforms or we had the digital platform. So one thing we have seen as we've started to push out more into that transactional space, our actual marketing heritage actually helps us, because you're talking about transactional and business communications. That's hygiene and making sure regulatory communications are delivered on time. But how do you acquire more customers and how do you do things a little bit differently is where our thinking comes in. So yeah. I think that's been a key point to it. And I think just industry wise, I think that those areas in business, although they are quite siloed, I think they are starting to converge more. We've certainly seen that.
So when you go to market, then when you go to a client, you're bringing them both. You're bringing them plus the digital, the Omnichannel, or however we want to define that, because you are doing emailing and other digital services as well in terms of digital delivery.
Yeah.
What is? I guess I'm really curious, and you could speak to this at least to the extent that you can, but from a Xerox perspective, what was their interest in purchasing a services company? And I only go back to, my recollection of the old, the XRCs that we used to have in the United States, where Xerox would build these big facilities, produce work and effectively compete with their customers. I'm not suggesting that's what's going on here,
no.
But it's just curious that if you can speak to that, what was Xerox sort of thinking when they said, hey, we want to get into this effectively outsourcing business?
Yeah, I think it's getting tighter with customers. I think it's sort of, if you think about where Xerox are and what they're trying to do, I think you Go Inspire play quite heavy into that sort of evolution in terms of we are very much a forward-thinking business. I think very much, if you look at Go Inspire, it's got great people, great clients, and great capability. Right. So when you put those things together, it's quite interesting. Combination. So I think the combination of that, I think the fact that we are leaning heavily into that omnichannel outbound communication at scale, right? So at scale, I think that's the key point. Is it's okay doing a solution for a quick turnkey something, but actually, how do you take something and really scale that over multiple different communications, different areas within a business? And that's where Go Inspire really plays really strong. And it's not, as I come back to, we're not a business that really focuses on printed outcomes such. It's quite unusual to say that as
right.
We're sitting on top of a large print business here, but the business is so much more than that, and Xerox is so much more than the heritage of print that they like today. So there, my real focus is that it's more directional, right? So it's where's the business going to go, and where will it be in 5 years' time? I think that's the key part when you start looking at Go Inspire and what it does today and where it's on its journey, whether it's through technology, omnichannel communications, and print is still a big part of that.
Sure.
Right. And whether it's vulnerable customers or whether it's a cut through digital, really quite engaging direct mail piece, you can't be truly channel agnostic if you can't own all the channels.
Right.
So
it's really about a coherent sort of communication solution for customers, whether it's hardware, software, services, printed output. It's that whole spectrum of possibilities.
I think if you think about digital services, it's very much turning data into meaningful insight and action.
Yeah, and I saw some amazing examples down on the floor of things that you're doing that are, at least in my experience, are pretty unique.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of it. It's not doing more printed; it's doing it really intelligent. That's where I focused my time over the period I've been here, is setting up a foundation of the business that is really, really effective, regardless of the volume or the type of communications that we do.
Right.
That's been a real key focus for us, and it must be scalable. That's important for us. There's no, when I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about AI and things like that. It's not. I haven't been in a conversation where you don't, to be fair, but it's an area that it's not about being first for us. It's about doing it with real intention and purpose that can actually then scale.
Yeah, that coherent sort of story is really quite fascinating. So when you go to market and you talk to a customer, and we should probably define a little bit when we say digital services. Because when I think digital services, I think none of this, right? I think it's digital, truly digital. I think the definition here is perhaps broader than that, because we're talking about using data not only to deliver an outcome, but in the actual manufacturing process. And you're a digital first company, or would you define Go Inspire as a digital first business? Or how do you go to market? How do you describe what you do to customers? And I'll follow up on that, because
we're an outcome-based business.
Okay.
It's not about digital or print first. I think that's a bit of a miss.
Okay.
And I think is something we what's the true outcome customers looking for, and work back from that. And it's probably back to my engineering days with course analysis from that, start with the why, right? And really work back from that. And then you really tailor a solution to give a really good outcome, not just unfocused on it has to be this or it has to be that. It's really how we go to market is really understand the customer. We're very, very client centric. And lots of people say that. I mean, but we do. We're curious. We're very, very curious in terms of, you can send us loads of print, but why? What are you trying to achieve with this?
Right.
And I think that curiosity is something that sets us apart in some of the stuff that we do today. But yeah, to your point on digital first or print, that's not how we set up, and I don't that won't change. It's what's the customer actually looking to achieve, and then we work back from that and tailor the solution.
Yeah. Well, I mean, based on what I saw today, and thank you for that tour. I mean, I'm going to guess that a significant portion of your revenue is print.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But you've wrapped that with, I think you discussed you have some a creative component.
Yep.
Design component, obviously data processing, data manipulation. Are you seeing, what is that revenue side of the business? Not the print side, but the digital side of the business. Are you seeing, how has that changed, maybe, is the question?
Yeah, I think that's where we see the growth. If there is growth in those areas, we've seen growth in all areas of our business, and that's predominantly we're winning market share. We've seen that, but I think as you look at our blend, let's say the digital side of the business and the non-print services, what I would still call non-print, but it's hard when you sort of say split them out completely, because they can sometimes be linked. You can't have one without the other, or something like that. Or it's omnichannel. It's a true managed service wraparound, as I would look at it. But I would definitely say, if you was looking purely at that, that's an area we've definitely seen grow, just because we've had more capability, more interest. And the reason why it probably comes back to my delivery side of it. Delivery is where you build trust, right? In anything, any brand, anybody, you build trust through delivering. And we've always been a good business at that, whether it's print or we do what we say we're going to do. And when it doesn't go right, sometimes we're really honest as well. Okay, there's been a problem. We've corrected it and we're moving on. That trust is gained. And as we have increased our service offering into data, creative, and those areas, our customers want us to go into those areas because they trust us.
Right.
That's been the key part to it. And that's where we're seeing that growth. Yes, we're seeing new opportunities come across our desk, and it's important that we can do that. But also in our current client base, we're seeing the evolution of what our traditional service was many years ago to what it is today. It's significantly evolved more into that digital services space. Yeah. But with our philosophy is not changing. Right. In terms of that sort of that wraparound of what we're trying to do. And it's not, it doesn't always, it seems really counterintuitive, as I've said to you, saying that we don't always need more print for this. It's okay. We enjoy the very use of the print, but it's about profitable sustainability, driving good outcomes is what we're focused on for our customers. And that is an area that we see will be, we'll make sure we're set up fit for the long term. As a long-term partner, we don't want just partnerships with our clients for short-term one-off campaigns. We want multi-year relationships with our customers. And I think if we think like that, and what we've seen is, if we do think like that and operate like that, we definitely seem to be well placed to do it.
Now, you said the digital services side of the business is growing. What parts of that are you seeing growth in? Because I imagine you do have customers that come to you and say, hey, this postage spend over here, we got to figure this out. Right? Yeah. And sometimes the answer is, well, let's come up with a digital, mobile app or, some kind of web-based email solution. Sometimes it's more personalizations, more targeted, using data to make sure that we're sending the right thing to the right person at the right time and all of that. What part of that digital side of the business are you really seeing the growth? And the reason I ask is because there are so many service providers that look at the digital question and go, no, we can make a buck over here and I make 5 cents over here. Yeah. I'm going to keep making a buck over here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's not, I'll flip the question a bit from, it's not focused on just output. Right. It's not an output conversation. So I agree with that comment. If you say, I want to do more output print or an email, right, there's a huge difference. Right. And I understand that. But if you're taking that up the chain a bit inside to look at who we're targeting, why we're targeting, what profile, the different segments of data, analyzing that, starting with the strategy in mind, analyzing the data, coming up with some really interesting creativity, and then pushing it across omnichannel, whether it's on to email. Then if we're not engaged, then we push to print to get the best outcome you could possibly can to improve response rates for that communication. That's where the value is. Right. The value becomes, it is further up. So, and that's why we very rarely talk about the number of things we're sending out. That's not where the value is. I don't believe. I think the value is up further up the chain, and understanding why, and really sort of being that managed service partner about your customer communications.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. I mean, in that that volumes and channels sort of mentality, I feel like there's a lot of companies trapped in that sort of that world.
And it's difficult to think about. It really is in terms of, it's a real mindset shift and skill set shift.
Right. Well, speaking of skills then, so what kind of sellers, what do your sellers look like? I mean, I'm sure you have those folks that have been around selling print for 25 years, but it is a different skill set, right? Because you're not talking to the print buyer now at the insurance company or the retail. You're talking to the marketing people, to the CMO, to the CXO.
Yeah.
How has that had to evolve, at Go Inspire in terms of your sellers? Because you could have the capability, but being able to, articulate that to a customer and
it's been really intentional. You're right. Right. So you need lots of different types of people for different opportunities. We've gone and focused on, we brought quite a lot of people into the business from client side.
Oh, okay.
So that's been quite intentional, because when we say we really want to understand our customer, we really lent into that. You got to sort of practice what you preach a little bit. You say you're going to be customer. Okay, we have the voice of the customer inside. And so we've employed some people customer side who've come and work for us in that sort of selling organization that support the traditional sellers to understand what the customers are looking for. But also those people already talk our customers' language.
Right.
I've sat in a few meetings. Sometimes I'm like, cool, I'm glad they're here because this has gone in a different direction. If we then, I've seen a huge benefit from, and this is probably a side quest of what we were originally intending, is obviously, we want to talk to customer language, but the way that then brings everybody else on in terms of understanding what the customer really needs and making people think differently has been really important for us. So it's been a deliberate change, and it has been a step change in what we need, what we've needed internally. But it's definitely helped us. It's helped us evolve as a business, definitely.
Yeah, well, for sure. So now, I was just reading through some of the material on Go Inspire, and obviously you're a UK-based company, but you're serving a broader market, the Middle East, Africa. You tell me whether that's true. I just read it on the press release of the website. You have customers outside of the UK?
No, predominantly UK based. I'd say. I'm not sure where that's coming from. I would say we are today a UK based company. We do send some stuff overseas, things like that. But I would say we're predominantly a UK based company across 4 main sectors. Really. So we very much sort of focus retail, charity, telco, utilities, and financial services, insurance. But also public sector now. Obviously, being part of Xerox, there's quite a lot of the work that they do under public sector. So they're the sort of main areas that we focus on. But today, right? So I think that how we evolve this business over the coming years, but that may evolve over time.
So what you've been part of the Go Inspire now for 7 years.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest change that you've seen in this business?
I think what I would say is the change in the people, right? And that's people, whether that's people coming in and out, or the people that have been here for many years. There's people that have been here over 25, 30 years within the business. And this business has seen a lot of change with its ownership. There's different management styles, different leadership teams, and how that's been. There's been some consistent as well. But I think the way the core of this business and the people within this business have evolved with the business, that's been a real change. I think whether that's skill set for people, whether that's people doing different roles and how we operate, I think that's been a key change. And I think the way we've positioned ourselves, if I really think when I started back at this business, it's very much DM based business, as you say, and now we are a fully fledged omnichannel communications business with a very nice agency proposition that sits on top of it that covers full strategy, data, creative, and output. So that's quite a change to be fair, and there's no surprise people have had to change on the way with that, because I think the full offering has probably changed over time.
Yeah, I mean, that blending of those two sort of traditional siloed worlds of direct marketing and transactional, and what you've shown me, literally not just until you go to market, but how you literally are manufacturing,
Yeah.
on the floor, and you've been able to blend those is really pretty fascinating. And again, from my view, kind of unique in the way you've approached it, particularly the envelopes and the enclosing. But what about, let's talk a little bit about changes, not just in sort of the business model, but what about technology? What's been the biggest change from a technology perspective? Let's cover both hardware and software.
Yeah.
Right. You obviously have an engineering team that's building software and supports all your systems. That's here in Leicester, or that's
some remote, some here in Leicester.
Yeah. So what's been the biggest change that you've seen on the software side, on the software technology?
I think the biggest change is about to come, if I'm totally honest with you.
It hasn't come yet.
As well, we've got, yes, the technology's been good, and I think we can talk a bit about hardware in a minute, but if I think software, and we've evolved our software considerably over time, in terms of making sure it's fit for the manufacturing process. I say there's been some real focus on that, and making sure that's really streamlined, really efficient, and really robust. Right.
Yeah.
So that's there's a go back to the delivery mindset of, we have to deliver on the heartbeat. That's where trust is gained.
Right.
Making sure your systems are set up to do that has been a real focus. Right. And that has been particularly over the last 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, about it's okay turning systems that can do one project. When you start adding lots and lots of really stress testing it, that's where the real value starts to come, and it needs to be really robust to scale. But I think that's going to really start to accelerate on that.
Yeah.
In terms of how we think, in terms of secure, safe, reliable systems. How do we now accelerate that on with AI being straight? I think that's where the biggest change is going to start to come. We've probably seen more of that in the last few months, and as everybody has, in terms of what output now is out of your development teams as what it was previously. The capabilities now are far greater with the teams that you've got.
How is recruiting for those technical software engineers development? How has that been for you now as a Xerox company? I mean, has that brand sort of helped you attract those kinds of folks? How has that been in terms of finding those resources?
Yeah, I think that there has been some help in terms of finding the resources. Okay. And it's not something that I think we've ever done. I'm just thinking back, if we've struggled with filling that type of resource. It definitely helps being backed by Xerox in terms of the scalability, the size, the credibility. That does help, and the opportunities for people. Right. Although we are a Go Inspire company, as we are Go Inspire, yes, we are a Xerox company, but we're very close and we work together. There's opportunities that can create career paths anywhere within both organisations, to be fair. So I think it's been helpful, and it's not an area we've struggled in terms of getting some resource into.
Wow. Well, I'd say you're fortunate in that regard, because it's sometimes can be challenging to attract, those kinds of technical resources, and they walk in and go, "What? You're a printer?"
Yeah. No, I think you sort of.
It's clear this is a technology company.
Yeah, and I think there's a bit of a if you think about how lots of, and I can only speak about Go Inspire really, the technology that sits behind printing is quite advanced.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right. So whether you're a print manufacturer or you're a omnichannel communications business that can do, there's a lot of technology that sits behind that. It's not just income pay. It really is different. So as you explore and you see that, and you see how the business is evolving, and the way we want to go about our business is solution thinking first, which is definitely heavily in technology. Making sure we've got the right capability in hardware. That's also really important for me. It's expensive capital. It is expensive. So you've got to make sure it's right. You've got to differentiate yourself. And you have to have something that's genuinely different. And I think if you look at what Go Inspire is today, it has got that.
Yeah.
So if it's a me too when I'm talking about print, it's a bit boring. But when you say, actually, we are this full service omnichannel communications business, and we can do some of the best printed output anywhere in the UK, and formats that we can do at scale, that becomes a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Above the Tree Line podcasts like this are open for sponsorship. This podcast reaches an audience focused on how customer communications reveal the larger story of digital transformation around the world. We look at how AI, customer experience, and capital are reshaping how organizations deliver information, service, and trust. For sponsors, this creates an opportunity to be part of a focused conversation with an audience that's already paying attention to where the market is heading. Treeline Press works with organizations through sponsorships, branded podcasts, executive interviews, event coverage, moderated discussions, and more. These opportunities are designed for companies that need to explain where they fit into this changing market. To learn more about sponsorship, media hosting, and event coverage opportunities, visit treelinepress.com.
What do you see on the hardware side? Again, on your tour, you got a lot of an interesting legacy and some really, really advanced things that are, again, I've never seen before. What are you looking for? What's your outlook from a hardware perspective of where are you hoping to go from on the print side, on the hardware side?
I think whether it's on print or hardware, it's more automation. Whether it's speed, efficiency, reducing the number of people needed to deliver an outcome, that's always an efficiency.
So it's less about putting the ink on the paper and it's more about,
because if you look at it, if I look around the print market, everybody's got their machines that do they're very good in this area or good in that area, and a bit of everything. The technology's probably moved on significantly in the digital space, whether it's inkjet or wave, but they've all got their unique parts. And I think tailoring that to your operation is the key part, is unlocking what you need as a business from your operation to deliver. That's always a key focus must be for anybody who needs sorts of seats. But yeah, I more efficiency, faster. That's where I can see it going. But there's a limit to it. I think if you look at some of there is a limit to how fast you can put things into envelopes and how fast you can put ink on paper. But I don't think it's about because the volume is not going up.
right?
In terms of, we don't need
The overall market is kind of
it's sort of there. It's about doing. Print is intentional. I think if a brand's doing print, it's an intentional move, and it's a premium product. So when you are doing that, it has to be high quality, on time, looks perfect. That's the key part to that, and making sure you're set up to be able to deliver that is key for us.
So automation, you brought it up earlier. We haven't talked about it yet. So where does AI fit into this? I mean, I sort of feel like everybody has to have an AI answer.
Yeah.
You could be in the printing business. You could be selling tires. It seems like everybody's got a story for AI.
It's a bit like the innovation world.
It's like, what's your take on AI, and sort of how do you think that's going to change things?
I think you're right. It's the buzzword at the moment, right? For sure. It's how my real. I've got a few different views on this. I've got an operational view and I've got a customer view. So I'm back to this.
I was going to ask you, because there's sort of an automation perspective, and then there's sort of this.
But they're sort of linked, and I'll come back to that. I think AI is a tool that can really speed up some really mundane processes that taken a long time, right? So in operations or businesses, looking at ways to streamline what you do and get better information presented to you to drive meaningful outcome. That's really, really, really important. And I can see lots of benefits to that in terms of doing a lot more with a lot less. Right, so there is definitely some operational benefits. Right? If I put my marketing hat on out and customer facing view on, that's really useful in terms of from a CFO point of view that I can reduce my costs and be more efficient.
Right.
But does that help my customer?
Right.
All right. So
there's a whole customer experience aspect to this
that can be really, and as I was saying about trust is won and lost through delivery, right? And if you're going to trust AI to do all of your delivery and engagement with customers, it has to be 100% right, because you can very quickly lose trust if it's not done right. So I think it needs to be 100% is here, right? And I think it can be used as an amazing tool. It is an amazing tool. We're all using it. I mean, in terms of whether it's day to day or for things that we're doing, projects that we're doing, but making sure we don't lose the focus of the customer and that human interaction, I think is really important. And for brands, it is going to be more important. I was at a round table the other day with some marketing teams, and that was really clear. There's just a nervousness around how we need to make sure we don't lose that human touch in the marketing that we're doing today. So yeah, it's in a very digital world. How do you make sure you've got that human touch, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. And it's, just you pick up the paper and there is a, it's hard to be a convenience. And as humans, I think we're always going to take the path of least resistance. But I think there's also a little bit of a growing skepticism or concern about the role AI is going to play, and whether it's, doing your shopping for you or selecting your next pair of shoes or your pet food or whatever that's going to look like, how AI is going to sort of layer itself in that decisioning process. I think it's going to happen, but I think people are moving into that in a really sort of careful and thoughtful way, because to your point, you lose that trust and it's over. Right?
You can imagine, no wonder the conversation then moved on to brand and things like that, and making sure brand front and center. And
absolutely.
And so yeah, it's I think it's one of the most exciting times. AI, right? I think we're at that point where we're just at the cusp of it really taking off to a point that will be unrecognizable afterwards. But I'm just interested to see the caution that's taken, the people that bump their knees a little bit and they course correct and see what happens. But yeah, like for us, it's not about being first with AI for us. It's about being right when we go there. So we are using it. I want us to do it in a really intentional way for our customers and what we build in and how we're moving forward as a business. I don't just want to run blindly into there, because I feel like that's the right direction to go. Yeah. It's with purpose, with intent, and with a real deliverable outcome in mind.
So what's your plan? What's your 3-year plan for Danny Cook and now as the guy in charge? What are the things that what are the goals that you're kind of setting out?
Yeah, and look, it's not wholesale change, right? It's not. I think it's quite nice. I've been with the business for 7 years, and my predecessor worked with Dimmy for a good 3 years of that as COO. We're working with him, and we co-created our strategy. The strategy's not changing. We're set on the direction of this business and where we're looking to go. How we operate and how we go about that, more deliberate, more execution, more focused. Technology is going to have a big play in where we focus on what we do, and I don't think that's a surprise. That's not anything revolutionary that I'll tell you there, but how we do that and how we operationalize that is really important to me. Yeah. It's not technology for technology's sake. Same with AI. It's not AI for AI's sake. It's fixing a real problem that we see in the market,
right?
And taking the business to the next level is where. So the print part of the business is still very important. How do we link that together to make it more meaningful for our customers through technology?
Right.
That's the focus.
I'm just curious your thoughts on this, because oftentimes, I spend a lot of time talking about digital transformation, right? The move from a physical experience to a digital experience. And oftentimes when I have those conversations with leaders from PSPs, they perceive that as, well, if it's like a zero-sum game, like if I do that, I'm going to lose out on print. Like in order for that business to grow, my print business has to diminish.
Yeah.
That hasn't been my experience. And there are a number of examples of companies that actually have said, no, we can actually grow this digital side of our business and bring our customers new experiences and new capabilities while still actually continuing to capture a lot of print work.
And I just tend to agree with saying that. It's what we've seen. It's how do you linking digital and physical is nice, and it's about the customer journey.
Right. Yeah.
The customer journey, right? And I think there is, if you look at Jigmail and stats everywhere around, is print effective? Yeah, it is effective for sure. It's a bad channel. How do we make it easier to do? I think there's a bit of a skills gap for marketeers today in terms of coming out of university, very social and digital first mindset. Mm-hmm. But is that always the best way? As I come back to the real customer journey, customer experience, that's the piece. And I think as businesses sort of they evolve through this period, with the digital first mindset, and we hear that with a lot of customers, we're going to go digital first. Lots of people then going, hang on, we're missing this or we're missing that. And I think there'll be quite a bit of a course correct on that. Mm-hmm. In terms of just a mindset shift. It's not, we're going all back to print. That's never the way. I think it's how do you orchestrate across all of those areas, mm-hmm. and create that seamless customer journey. That's the real. No.
And again, I'm just going to, this is just Andy's dream, but I would love to see, Xerox and Go Inspire actually take that message to the digital marketing ecosystem, which is massive.
Yeah.
Right. And tell that story of print. There are, at least in my view, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I feel like the industry, the print industry specifically, is real hesitant to sort of kind of push back against the digital question. I mean, we talk about things like, sustainability and customer engagement. Where I'm trying to go with that conversation, though, is physical printed matter is unique, right? Print is the ability to take digital data and turn it into something physical. And that is something that only the printing industry can do. And I wish, it's my desire that, to have a company like Xerox step into the MarTech space and say, look, we actually can do something that's really interesting here. And I spend a lot of time on the MarTech side, and I feel like the print industry is just like, they try and keep it at an arm's length. Yeah. Like they're like sort of, they don't want to engage in that. And I believe there's a tremendously powerful story to be told, because again, to me, it's not, you can grow your digital capabilities and digital services and actually in some ways increase your print business, because that's what customers are looking for, right? They're looking for that partner that can help them grow that paperless experience. And then they say, oh, by the way, you can print. Oh, great. Please do that for me too. And I feel like there's a piece in the industry that's just missing, where we have not really taken the message to the digital MarTech space.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think there's probably a bit of caution around and
I think it's because there's a fear that if we go there, it means we're giving up on print. And I don't think
that, and I think that is fair. And I think there's what you said there around Xerox, where their view is of as we said around Go Inspire, it's more directional than it is location. I think that time will come. I think there'll be there will be the right time. And I think if you're thinking MarTech at the moment, it's probably it's going to get some disruption of its own at the moment.
Yeah, right? 100%.
Because there's going to be businesses popping up everywhere that have got platforms.
Right.
This is my view on this, is because AI is going to help that. Right. This was a conversation we had the other day as well around, how do you know if a platform is really secure and built in a way what's that vetting process for people? And that's quite interesting. I think that's where brand and trust and all of that comes in. So I don't think just going out and sending the message of we need to do more print. I think it's a subtlety, and it's got its time, I think, and it's probably not too far away in terms of they're taking the message forward in terms of what actually works.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd always says, as I say, I come back to that all the time. It's like, okay, what's working?
Mm-hmm.
Let's test. I think people are going to have to be a little bit more, and I think that is an area that brands will focus on, is testing more, whether that's testing print, whether it's testing omnichannel, whether it's testing what works, and refining and iterating and really pushing the boundaries in those areas. That will include print.
Yeah.
I think there is that level of saturation in terms of platforms and tech and even emails and digital.
Mm-hmm.
How do you cut through? And I think I come back to the point I made earlier around making it human again.
Yeah.
Well, how do I put something in somebody's hand to deliver something?
Right.
That's got quite a nice message to it, I
think. What do you see the role of government regulations? I mean, postal costs, we could probably spend an hour talking about that, because that's challenges with the post are universal, it seems. It doesn't matter what country you're in, but what do you see the role of regulations and how that might impact particularly the physical, the print manufacturing side of the business? Do you see anything on the horizon that is concerning, or that you're trying to become aware of, at least in the UK? And then separately I wanted to ask you views on the US. But
so if you look in Europe and things like that, where some of the countries have gone, for the government have gone, you need an email address, not postal. They're more digital first.
Right. Sweden, Norway.
Correct. I don't see that happening yet in the UK. There's nothing telling me that that's coming really, really quickly or that's going to change overnight. It's got its own challenges, and you're right, we could talk about the postal services for a completely different podcast, to be fair. I don't see anything that's going to mandatory change from the government in that area today. Okay. And that's just me sitting here in my area that I'm not seeing one specific thing that I'm thinking, no, I'm really worried about that. I'm concerned about some of the prices on postal delivery and things, but yeah, I wouldn't from a regulation point of view. It'll come back to proof, and I think proof, particularly in the regulated market, that you have to prove that you've delivered something. Actually, post is actually quite good for that, right, rather than it being just through an email or text or phone. That's that level of trust, I think, is still there within the channel.
What about the environmental factors, though? Because one thing that I've experienced in the UK and Europe, and generally compared to the US, is you take the environmental questions very seriously here. In terms of your annual reports and things that you put into the market. Do you see? I assume you have a person that probably is responsible for that as a part of your organization. How is that changing or impacting the business, at least in your experience over the last 7 years?
Yeah, I think it's become expected now. I think there was a lot of change in that a few years ago. It's expected. And I look at it more as a waste conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that you do that's wasteful, if you're not actively trying to reduce that and make that better and stop being wasteful, whether that's from an energy perspective, from a overusage of paper and perspective, or that's what I think we, as business leaders, we've got a responsibility to actively manage that, right? So that's whether that's whatever type of waste that is. I think the businesses that really set themselves apart who are actively doing it, I think print gets a bad rep. I think print gets a bad rep for sustainability, and I think it's probably in terms of is well documented, and it is very well documented, and of how recyclable it is, what is actually being done in some of the mills in terms of it's positive to the forestry rather than negative. They're actually planting more than they're actually cutting down. Where digital gets very little.
Mm-hmm.
So there are significant data centers popping up everywhere, which are considerably energy hungry.
Yeah, AI has definitely changed that equation.
Waste in that.
Yeah,
I think if I look at, I think we could both open up our phones and look at our personal email inbox.
Yeah,
and look at the unopened emails, the hundreds of emails that you have. If that was physical print, that's a lot of waste.
right.
Waste, whether it's digital or whether it's physical. I think that's the piece for me is we making sure that you're not wasting whatever we're doing. I think we all have a reducing the waste that we do, whether it's physical or digital. It should be our focus.
So I want to just turn the subject just a little bit here and ask you about the U.S. market. What is your perception of what's happening in the U.S. relative to the UK or maybe other parts of the world that you're familiar with? How do you see the US market?
Yeah, I think the US, and this is just from my vantage point, let's say, is it's still a significant player in the printed space. I think that, I don't know whether the stats in terms of the printed mail that it makes up of the global, it is a significant part of that. So it's. I don't think it's wrong to say that it's probably slightly behind the UK and some other areas in terms of the evolution to digital and the split between digital and print. But I think that's a huge opportunity. I think the US is got huge capability. I think the opportunity for those brands and those businesses to evolve and learn from other areas. I was saying about you don't always have to be first, right? You just got to be right. So I think the US.
And you said trust. You've used the word trust a lot.
And the view that you go, okay, let's let everybody figure that out, and we can follow on afterwards. That's not a bad strategy sometimes.
Yeah.
But look, we see small amount. I've spent some time in the US in terms of being around to a few different printers, just looking at some of the stuff that we do similarly and other areas. And in terms of the like the inline creative formats and stuff that we do, very, very advanced in that area. So I think there's huge opportunity. I just think it would the opportunity for the US to evolve those businesses is huge.
So you can answer this however you want, but do you see Go Inspire growing internally and expanding, or do you see other perhaps innovative companies coming in part of the portfolio? Do you see expansion in this business for Xerox?
Yeah. I mean, of course, I'd be wrong if I said that I didn't see the expansion but it's done at the right time, at the right pace. Like for us, we're going to be really deliberate about what we do. I think how we evolve this business over time, we are going to be very focused on our technology stack and things like that. How we evolve that and make sure we've got the right proposition for our clients here. If we've got that to a point that we are happy, I'm clear on this, is that if we're going to build something, it needs to be scalable, but it needs to be scalable and work. Right. And that's I don't want to rush that. I want to do it in a way that's measured, deliberate, and generally takes the business forward for many years to come, not a short-term gain. So naturally, I think you think we're a UK-based business, we're a US parent, then at the right time and when the business is ready, I could see some opportunity there, but not to the point where we forget about what we've got to do today, and where we are today is that it will be at the right time, measured, and if the opportunity is the right opportunity.
Well, Danny, that is going to be fun to watch. I'll look forward to seeing how that evolves and how this story evolves inside of Xerox, because it's fascinating to watch. thank you very much for your time. It's been great. I've really enjoyed spending time with you and seeing the facility. And thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to Above the Tree Line from Treeline Press. This podcast reaches an audience focused on how customer communications reveal the larger story of digital transformation around the world. If your company has a story to tell about how AI, customer experience, or technology are reshaping how organizations deliver information, service, and trust, visit treelinepress.com to learn more.